I'll move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
7-0. Approval of consent items. Any questions?
I'll move to
Okay, go ahead.
approve the consent items. Spit it out.
Is there a second? That's 1 through 5, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. 7-0. Moving on to citizen comments, 3 minutes. Anybody have anything? Okay. Have a staff presentation by the KISA group.
Okay, well, here we are. I would just like to say that I have the most awesome district leadership team in the 286 districts of the school. Just a really great team, and we could all be here tonight. And so, if you want to hit the first slide, we'll just introduce everybody here. Mrs. Kling and Mr. Cordy, Mr. Jarvis, Mrs. Deweese, and myself. So we started work together last year and continue into this year. And as we get into this new cycle, or the first year of the cycle, we're learning, we're getting more information as we go, and so the state is always giving us just a little bit more, and so it's always a challenge to keep up with what they're going to want, but we are moving on.
So the state issues put this out. So the fundamentals, the state has 4 fundamentals, and they are structured literacy, standards alignment, balanced assessment, and quality instruction. And then from those fundamentals, you utilize the structures to go in hand basically with the fundamental, and the structures are resource allocation, educator evaluation, professional learning, professional collaboration, tiered systems of support, and family and community business partnerships. Our school, with help from the building leadership team, which is all of our faculty and staff essentially, and our DLT, our site council had input, TASN had input on this, and she was a board, you might recall a year ago, we talked about this as well, right before November. And our school chose a balanced assessment as our fundamental, which states that we would assess students for risk and standards and use data to adjust instruction. We have a deep understanding of the purpose of each assessment and how to use the data to raise achievement. And then for tiered systems of support was our structure that we chose to go with the balanced assessment. And that is just utilizing data analysis, including screening for risk and performance against standards. Appropriate time is provided for core activities and interventions to meet student needs.
So though we selected for our target area balanced assessment, we felt like we wanted to make sure we were addressing all the 4 fundamentals, and so we just to kind of review the different areas that address each of those 4 fundamentals. One of them is quality instruction. We do high impact instruction. We work on high impact instruction. We utilize walkthrough data, and we use the McQuail professional development. And we have been working on that for 3 years, and I really see some alignment in teaching structures and instructional strategies, and we focus on that part of that each year. We also send out surveys and the stakeholder engagement. You saw the results of those surveys, I think last month or the month before. So parents are involved in that. We have staff professional development surveys. We have our senior exit surveys. So we do survey multiple ways. CTE advisory committee. we are fortunate to have some really great advisory committees for manufacturing, construction, and healthcare. We have added 2 advisory committees, and as they get started because of our new CTE pathways, we have 2 more advisory committees. These are the advisory committees we've had in the past. And then we also have our district site council, which we have really enjoyed getting feedback from them, and so these all impact our high quality instruction.
And then there are some components under structured literacy that we do as a district. We have building level teams, and typically that consists of elementary, and sometimes elementary is broken down into, it might be K2 and 3-5. And then we have 6-8, or we have 9-12. And then for our ELA, when we worked with TASN, our 6-12 social studies and ELA teachers work together as a team. There are several staff members who have completed or are completing the letters training, and then everyone has had training in dyslexia. And then our work with TASN, so we've actually worked with TASN the past 3 years. The first year was just like with aligning a system, and then the last 2 years have been with working with ELA. Balanced assessment, some of the components under there that we do, we have state assessment data. State assessments are given once a year. We do the ASQ and local kindergarten screener. ASQ is it's an ages and stages questionnaire for parents to complete. The early childhood screening that the Service Center does, they also do the ASQ for students who attend that. And we have KELPA for English language learners. We have pre-ACT and ACT. This is Louisa's work keys. And then we'll talk more about FastBridge, where we use the FastBridge screener for math and ELA. And then we also have the accountability report that is on the KSDE website that anybody, you can look at it anytime, where you can see the attendance, graduation rate, and post-secondary success or effectiveness, which we'll go through more later as well.
Then lastly, we had the standards alignment. We've been working for the last 2 years to align our ELA curriculum. K through 5 uses a program known as Wonders, and 6 through 12 uses a program called SAVIS.
Move on to our action plan.
So when we were required by the state to turn in an action plan for this process, and so this was the action plan that we turned into the state. Is there any way you can move that far away? We assess students for risk and standards and use data to adjust instruction. We have a deep understanding of the purpose of each assessment and how to use the data to raise achievement. That is the component that we, of the 4 fundamentals that we selected.
If you scroll down, Mr. Burns, thank you. For tiered systems of support, so what we actually ended up doing is to meet the needs of diverse learners and improve student achievement, we adjusted our master schedule to include daily and multi-tiered support system, intervention time to support English language arts, and conduct 3 consulting days with TASN focused on these interventions for English language arts. Our DLT and TASN also created a draft schedule incorporating dedicated MTSS time, and our building leadership teams, as Mrs. Kling pointed out, reviewed the draft and provided feedback, and then we implemented the change. So measures of progress help our system focus on implementation and organized reporting on the progress, and what we will use to measure progress and the action coming forth. If you want to go ahead. So on the 6-month, or when we adjusted our master schedule, at our 6-month target, which actually was just this last May, we were adjusting it to see if we included an extra 30 minutes daily for K-12 intervention time to support our English language arts. A lot of you, if you have students in school, it's what we call our win time, what I need time. It used to be AP, and then this year it went from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and that's how we adjusted our schedule. Our 1-year target, which is coming up for our next school improvement day, is to consider, and we already did it actually, have our 3 consulting days with TASN focused on interventions for ELA, which were in the fall, winter, and spring of this past year.
Our cycle goes from November to November, but we kind of feel like that it makes sense to start at the beginning of the year, like through the school year, and not start something in November, but we actually, everything is, that's why we kind of have already met those.
As a part of the KISA process, we're required to do 3 executive check-ins. So the first one was October 1st, then we had another one May 7th, and then we'll have another one at our school improvement day, 11/10 of 25. And our executive is Amber Miller.
Yeah, so this is again, essentially everything we discussed so far. Again, because as we set out everything through November, so as everything's set up into November, we're moving on. Our next meeting would be in again November. We had our 6-month check-in with our executive. And so now we're moving on the process and continuing the same process going on to the next school year.
So just some data review, it's going to be less comprehensive than it was last year because the state is going through some setting cut scores. And so we'll go through the Fast Bridge, and it's a risk screener. It given 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring, and then we did give the state assessment. It's just that we have no data for that right now.
So for FastBridge, we give an A reading assessment and an A math assessment. Both of those are adaptive screeners, so students work as they're answering questions, it adapts to their level, and then at the end it gives a score, and we use those to kind of give us a picture of what students need. So again, it is a risk screener. Embedded in FastBridge is also progress monitoring, and what we use that for is after we have given the assessment, we go through the data and we group students, and as we are providing interventions for them, then we just progress monitor how those interventions are going and then adjust the instruction that they need. So that is also in with FastBridge. TASN, they work with us to help interpret the data that we see in FastBridge and help us kind of make sure that we go through that in fairly extensive. Our goal is to have 80% of our students in the college pathway and low risk, which is the purple on the graph. So this was the A reading scores, and then the next slide will show the A math. You ready to shoot? Okay.
Next is the accountability report.
So this is our accountability report, and it's visible for you to see this. So this is lag data, and this is what's frustrating, is that this is actually last year. We did not receive that till the winter of this year, and so it takes time to put all that information together. So if you can see on the academic prepared for post-secondary success, the yellow is us, the blue is the state. You can see that we are well above the state average. I think when we started, our ELA was just right about state average, and you can see that we're gaining ground there, which I think has a lot to do with our staff, but also work with TASN. One thing that you need to keep in mind is that not all students take the state assessment. All students take the Fast Bridge, however, not all students take the state assessment. So it is, especially in a small school, that information is just, it's a little bit different than when you give an assessment school-wide. The post-secondary effectiveness, you can see that we are still in the effective rate. Then if you go down, these are the graduation rate, attendance rate, chronic absenteeism, which is down by 2% again. And our dropout rate is NA because we don't have a dropout right at this point, so. You go down just a little bit more. Then the second page of this, they'll break it down into different subcategories, but a lot of times we don't have enough, you'll see like students with disabilities, we don't have enough data there. You have to have, I think, 10 students in that category for them to provide that data for you.
So this is the timeline for the KISA implementation. You'll see on the 24-25 school year, the only thing that's actually being evaluated this year is our action plan that we had submitted and we were approved. For next year, the 25-26 school year, the things that will be evaluated are our action plan plus our implementation. So how we implement our action plan, they'll actually be looking at that. And then starting in the 26-27 school year, they're gonna do the entire thing. So they'll evaluate our action plan, how we implemented our action plan, and then they're also gonna be looking at our outcomes. And, you know, making sure that what we're saying is actually we're meeting our goals and meeting our benchmarks.
All subject to change without notice.
Great.
So just looking ahead, we are looking towards our next year of the PISA, and so taking into consideration the DLT, the BLT collaboration. By the way, I did run the acronyms off for you if all these acronyms get a little bit too much for you. The strategic plan, we incorporated that because we feel like that's driving, besides the state and their what they require, also would like to know what the strategic plan is saying, what our stakeholders say, TASN, and then the site council. So our final decision and our next cycle starts in November 2025. However, we would like to start moving ahead with our next cycle as soon as the school year gets started. So that is where we came to the working with math, since we are going to be working with TASN to work on curriculum alignment. And so providing the state doesn't change too much, what they say they're going to be their requirement is, we're going to start working on the math like we've been working on the ELA. And jump in, anybody on the team.
Yeah, you just go back and choose a fundamental, choose a structure, and go through it again.
Yep.
So this is the strategic plan that we work on as at the building level, site council, and of course the board. And you can see that we've actually implemented 16. We've been able to implement at least 16 of these, and we've set new goals for the fall and new action steps for the strategic plan.
sounds like they basically give you 2 years, and then in year 2, if you haven't met, you know, your benchmark, the same benchmark essentially that you've already had, then they send someone out that will, hey, you need to get on track, and then from there they didn't say anything. And that was the interesting part when I was sitting in that Zoom meeting. They give you a little bit, and then they'll tell you, well, we're only gonna give you a little at a time. Wouldn't it be nice just to have the whole plan, so we all know what we're doing,
Yeah, I think that's the biggest frustration a lot of times is they'll say something and then the next time they won't say it, and so you're kind of like in this blur and you think, okay, well, kind of you start working towards that, but really until you see it out on paper, you really shouldn't, go after it because, that's the one thing about our future consultant is she gets on all of these Zooms and, she will, you know, after our 6 months visit, there was maybe 2 questions that we had, and so she got on the next future Zoom and said, you know, they aren't saying that this time, and, so the great thing about her is that makes her job, and Mr. Cody and I are doing we're in a lot of different hats in the district right now, with teaching and, you know, principaling and superintending and all of that stuff, so that's the thing. Good job.
Alright, even though school is out, the activity is far from over. I'm gonna try to do my best to stay in order. First we have big track in United High School at Winter. Went really well. With a lot of junior high kids, was really good because school was out. Like the first time they've ever had a track meet outside of school. So, on the high school side, a lot of PRs. It's been a really good time, especially with seasons coming up. The day after the track, we hosted youth golf. We had about 46 golfers out there. Some compliments on the course, of course, what we did, but you know, they wanted to volunteer to help. You know, they see and know that you're supposed to do the course, which is good. A lot of compliments on that. We had one place in top 10, Neil Bull got 6 at youth golf. To regional golf, we took 2 kids to St. Francis, regional golf. That was the day after that storm, we said they were okay, North Side Cal, it was rain, it's gonna be golf. I do it tough here, so it's one of the best days for game. Regional track in Oberlin. Really good day for the kids. We had 11 qualify. You guys didn't know Fish changed the rules, instead of the top 4 as pass, the top 3 is the next best 4 times, so that's how we snuck 2 of those in. We didn't release that till Friday night, so that was a long, 24, 40-hour stretch there for us. Like I said, we had 11 plays, or 11 qualified, we get 11 state. We had the morning session, thank goodness, it was nice and cool. Out of 11, we were able to bring home 4 medals, and a lot of those kids did multiple events, so that was really exciting. And some activities are fully on its way. We built up the basketball team last week, we played late today, so we had a strong in June, got one field break in July, and then we're ready to roll. Yes, and I had a school webinar that night, so I don't know if you guys have any
Principal report.
Alright, so since our last meeting, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Police, and I had the opportunity to meet with 4 members soon to be outgoing president. Kayla Maroon, the outreach coordinator, and Jason Showalter, the vice president of student and academic advancement. The purpose of our meeting was actually to strengthen our relationship with Fort Hays Northwest and explore more options to meet our students' needs. We did discuss the prospect of the junior-senior option. However, at this time, we feel that the junior option is not feasible for our school due to scheduling constraints and with our current faculty, we cannot accommodate both juniors and seniors in 4 classes during the last 2 hours of the day. On the other hand, if there is sufficient interest, the senior option could be viable. It's important to note that if interest is low, it really would not be ideal, as the remaining seniors who would choose the senior option would miss out on electives offered at the end of the day, because they would have to pay the seniors to access government and $7. Our school schedules electives at the end of the day intentionally include reasons first to allow all students, from freshmen to seniors, to participate in elective classes, since there are complete for 4 classes. Usually by the time they stop to 67, we try to have electives 56 and 7, and the seniors have some in the morning as well. The second reason that we have been asked for scheduled electives in the afternoon is that we, being on mountain time, our activities often overlap with 2 hours. So we aim to minimize the impact on core classes, which are more affected by absences than usually our elective classes are. During our meeting, we also discussed continuing our partnership with Fort Hays Northwest to offer college classes taught by our teachers, and the possibility of online class options for next fall. I would also like to point out, we do maintain our relationship with Colby Community College and also have that as another option for allowing us to offer online courses through them as well. And we've reached out to our junior and senior parents via text message and email, inviting them to set up a meeting time with Mrs. DeWeese and myself to discuss college options for students. In other news, I also was able to participate in this year's USA Administrators Conference held in Wichita. The conference brings together administrators from across the state to share insights and learn from one another, and to learn from presenters. This year, during the breakout sessions, I kind of took a nosedive into artificial intelligence. While some of the content that I learned was very, very concerning to me, it also provided valuable insights on how and when we should incorporate AI into our classrooms in the future. I actually connected very well with the main presenter, who was from Fort Hays, and was able to have lunch with him, and I talked with him about having him come out and present to our staff and help build our staff through professional development. And I think that I'm hoping in the fall, actually, on that one. Additionally, as Coach G pointed out, I was grateful to be part of the state track experience this year, and I would like to thank the student athletes for making it a very memorable event. It was one of the best state track experiences I've had, and I've had the privilege of going 12 years. So I would also say, if you've never been to state track, I recommend it. It is an amazing experience. So let's see. Finally, I've been working on next year's schedule along with proposed handbook changes for the July meeting. I've also reached out to the seniors and working on closing out their account, hopefully having more information for you at the next meeting. And then looking ahead, as it is June, I'm very eager to spend some quality time with my family. So, any questions?
You guys are considered part of this family.
No.
Okay, Christie, you're off from superintendent's report.
Well, I have been working on the project, the facilities project. Right now we're in the procurement phase, and lighting is scheduled to begin early July. We're supposed to have a meeting with Mr. Blaze this week, I think on Wednesday, to schedule and talk through the next steps. The remainder of the project is planned for early July, but that would be the best case scenario, probably be first part of August. The financing piece is going a little bit slower than I anticipated, so I was able to make contact with Greg, and he is from Raymond James, and he actually helped finance when they built this school, and so did a little talk with him. I think it probably is best to get multiple quotes, and he was willing to visit with me about it, and was able to meet with him at the USA conference. And Luke has known that several schools have used Greg, and so kind of said, hey, just check with him and see what he can do for you guys, because he works with several schools. And so still working with him, and as well as insurance renewal, and that's always nerve-wracking for me. It is a 6% increase, which I was hoping for less because they were talking about it being steady or a decrease. But unfortunately, we got a 6% increase, and so that equates to about $9,000 for us. Just for context, in 2021, our premium was $59,331. What I got for next year is $150,991, 990.86. That's how much our insurance has gone up. Unfortunately, no insurance companies want to insure schools. There's another company called EMC that's kicking schools out of their insurance program and raising rates, and so it's just, we just don't have a lot of options. And I know, hopefully you remember a year ago I was trying to shop around for insurance, and it just was not viable, and I just don't know how far it's gonna get before before schools get tired of this increase, but we'll see. I did ask about the wind and hail buy down, and I know that last year at this meeting we did voted on the wind and hail buy down. However, they have not provided me that information yet, so we continue to work in KISA. We're going to be meeting with our KISA consultant soon to look towards next year. I've been working a lot on the cardiac emergency response plan, which needs to be to the state by July 31st. So I'll be meeting with the team tomorrow to go through our plan to make sure people on the staff, and then some EMS and our athletic trainer, to make sure that everything seems feasible for them, that it all makes sense. And so we'll need to vote on that in the July meeting. I was able to go to the USA conference, and just a really great time to collaborate with other administrators. One of them that I went to was about communication, and so we are looking at a better communication tool. Mr. Cordy and I are not big fans of the one that we're using right now, and so we're taking some inventory from other schools to see what can be more streamlined. It's very frustrating for families to have multiple sources of communication depending on what activities they are in, and so it'd be really nice to have one form of communication. It's just very hard. The communication piece is difficult, but we're willing to tackle it. Been working with Sarah on getting daycare up and rolling. Sarah's been hard at work trying to get the paperwork through the state. We are planning some curriculum that are being used there. Sarah's getting real handy at getting all a drill and everything to get all the equipment put together. So if you need something put together, she can help you out with that. We're hoping for a July opening. So the neighborhood revitalization program, we had originally scheduled that to be on June 11th. However, that did not get published in the newspaper in time, and so the new date is set for July 25th at 1 p.m. and June. Sorry, I said.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, June 25th at 1 p.m. So if you guys, I'm hoping that we can have quorum there. Ross assures me that we will not be cutting weed at that time, so. We'll continue to work on our crisis plan. It's pretty comprehensive as well. I'm going to go to Oakley this week and work with a team to go through our crisis plan. And that's through Project Frontier, which Northwest Kansas Educational Service Center has a grant, and so they can do multiple things for our district, provided for free, and one of them that we're going to utilize is Energy Bus for schools. So we'll be doing a presentation at the start of the school year to try to gather the energy and catapult it into the new school year. So KSB has released the recommended policy updates. If anybody would like a actual copy, the printed copy, would you please talk to Joanne and she'll get that for you. Otherwise, you have an electronic copy. We did meet with the site council, and and some of the feedback we got from them was to continue to offer multiple elective, encourage participation at college fairs, continue to offer a robust rural school experience. I think that's why some of them felt that's why people live here, is for the rural school experience, and let kids have the high school experience, let them be kids as they go through school. We are gonna meet with Maria, and I can't say her last name, but she works with the Innovation Center. And I know one area that we've been really trying to get back in is some of the technology. And so we're meeting with her tomorrow, Mr. Cordy and Mrs. Deweese and I. There's 2 free programs that we can utilize. One of them is cybersecurity, and they, from what I've gathered from the first communication, it would take 4 to 6 semesters, but we'll learn more about it tomorrow. And then Google certifications, which we had a conversation with Mr. Brown, and he did the Google certifications, and he said it's good. It would be really good for students. It just doesn't take as long as they project out. But anyway, so it was good to know that somebody had gone through those and they thought it was beneficial. So we'll be talking about cybersecurity and Google certifications tomorrow with Maria from the Innovation Center. Those are all free from what we gather, but I'll report on that more once we learn more. We will start work on the budget, preliminary budget. Joanna and I are attending the Oakley Budget Workshop on June 18th. Remember that I give you a copy of that budget when you approve it at the budget hearing. Most of the time, depending on when the revenue neutral rate is, it could be August 20th, it could be September 20th. But anyway, yep, you get a copy of that budget during that hearing in advance of that. And other than that, any questions, board?
Alright, thank you. Everybody good? Okay, moving on. Discussion action items. Number 1, capital project funding.
Well, I just want to update you, and I kind of did that already, but I did get a quote or a proposal from the government capital, and I don't believe there's any really, you can look at it at any point if you would like. However, we don't have for sure quotes from the Raymond James or the Holman Capital. If there is something that you would like for me to do different, just please let me know. But I guess one of the big things that I haven't got much guidance on, and I need to kind of know before I can get a real strong proposal, is what are you guys wanting to, how much are you guys wanting to finance? What are you wanting to use as far as out of the capital outlay? So I would just appreciate maybe some discussion on that, so I can be a little bit more clear with these financing companies.
We have 935,000
That's what we have,
and 835, yeah. So
935?
935.
Okay, 935. What was the bid from Novartis? What did we settle on there? 1 point? Oh.
Well, I have this, and I didn't subtract out the
3 or something, wasn't it?
1.3 or 1.4?
one. Yeah, 1.3 is what I had. So I've got the HVAC, I'm taking out the retrofit, and then I'm adding in the lights.
Plus 50.
Yeah, 1.3, 1,313,258. So I had been telling them anywhere between the finance companies, 1 to 1.3.
That's a third of that. That's my number.
Pull out of capital outlay.
Leave capital outlay at 500.
So I think I talked about this at some point, maybe in your weekly notes about, you know, we get roughly, and it's just gonna depend on valuation, land valuations, bringing $160,000 a year into our capital outlay. You know, project out, yeah, we need to spend some other money for capital outlay projects, you know, we need to make sure we're not just being like, okay, we're gonna make that payment, that, you know, if we have something bust, break, or, you know, a vehicle go down, or, you know, we shouldn't, but need a
What were the rules on the financing again? Has to be a lease?
lease purchase.
Lease purchase, right?
I think.
And did we talk last time about the term, the time?
15 years.
15's a max.
That's what I've been, kinda felt like you guys shot me that direction.
The 15 was an average, so I think.
Okay, that was an average.
We could, I think he said you can go to 30.
Well,
Oh, I thought it was 10, but you could go up to 15. I'm not,
I think 15 was a kind of an average number that most people use.
I remember thinking we did 20, and it was less than that, but okay, 15. I mean, that's 20 to 30% out of the capital outlay.
normally I would think leave
I'm
this,
good with the 435, leaving $500,000 in there.
normally I would agree with that, just everything's just stupid, crazy expensive, and $500,000 don't go real far. Sounds stupid to say,
I like 20%,
but I'm
bigger
okay
payment.
with it. I was gonna say finance
20%?
it even good,
Well, that's what I was gonna suggest, but
I don't know what percent.
I mean, it's a bigger payment annually after that, if I was wondering about the term.
Mhm.
I mean, the cost of money, that's right now, it's not gonna get
That's
cheaper.
262 basically. In my head, I had 300, but just 300,000,
What is 262?
That's 20%.
I mean,
I mean, after that, we're kind of crystal ball with it anyway.
you know, I just look at this, if we replace a boiler, it's 475, you know, there's always that leering out there that scares me, but.
And that's right now.
Right.
What's in 3, 4 years, 5 years?
What's the last big things we did? The roof, parking lot.
The roof mainly, but that was insurance, I mean, we got insurance money on the roof,
The parking lot was the last.
right, besides the vehicles. I think that the parking lot was like 70, and then,
What are we looking at for that route? We thought we was gonna have to add one. We're gonna need another bus? Is that just the
no,
one
it'll be
extra
a
route?
Suburban,
You okay?
I mean, it'll be, yes, Suburban will service that, 6 kids. For now, 6 kids.
So no more vehicles at this point right now, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, we can replace 5 if you guys wanna replace 5, it's kind of next on there, but, I mean, that vehicle that goes that way, I wouldn't wanna send just like a really nice vehicle. But for the simple fact that, you know, it's gonna go through some pretty ruts and stuff, but I'll take direction on that.
What kind of interest rates were we talking? I mean,
Well, I'm getting anywhere from like 5.5 to 6 point, upper 6s.
6.
no.
6. That's like the middle.
This is just a calculator on the internet, but 11,100 a month, and this is 10 years.
Well, you know, like a 1.3, million, and then, spread that over 15 payments, you know, we're talking like 133,000 a year, so.
Yeah, 84. Yeah, that'd be about right. Somewhere around $8,500 a month. That's 15 years. Oh, that was for 1.3.
That was
That's the whole amount.
No, I'm just looking at, so if you did 15 years on $1 million, that's roughly $100,000 a year for the payment.
At least.
Yeah, but just for the payment.
Right.
If we're bringing in 160, is 60 enough to cover other things?
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my concern.
But I mean, there's also the 500,000, roughly 500,000.
Yeah, I just feel like you could eat that up real fast.
I know, yeah, but you wouldn't think we'd eat up, and then need to eat up more of the next year, like you'd think it would be I'd like to hope you don't have 5 big things happen 5 years in a row, but not at all to say it can't.
The boiler was the major thing, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
That we didn't
Not to
do.
but yeah.
But I mean, it roughly
Get rolled into this loan.
What's that?
If that happened, it'd probably get rolled into this
Oh.
loan.
That's true. And you would probably have that option again, to do another 10-year or something on the boiler.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's never anything to get to. I think we're not all that far off from each other, somewhere between financing and financing.
1.4.
You say there's 3 different companies you're looking at?
Yes. So, look at about $1 million, or financing $1 million, or?
I say no less than $500,000 left in there, absolutely.
Stick it around $1 million.
Maybe that, 100,000, somewhere.
Okay. Okay.
Good.
Didn't somebody tell you though, if we, make sure we put a fair amount down, would help the interest rates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be another question to ask,
Right.
say
This
20
may
and
be-
30, 25, and then you could also ask, I think I said it last month, about a rate buy down option. Maybe I just thought about it.
I mean, putting 25% down instead of 20% down makes the interest rate drop 0.5%, that would be.
So much money.
You just have to remember that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're all close to each other on that one.
Okay. Give you a number to work with. All right, approved classified staff,
You have that list in your packet.
31 page.
I'll make a motion to approve the classified staff list as presented.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
7-0. All right, moving on, approved daycare handbook.
Hi, Sarah, I have some questions.
Yeah.
One of them is on your full-time and part-time, you didn't put the hours on that breakdown. What are we looking at on that?
I did not put the hours specifically because I will just kind of determine that, based on kind of what hours are available, for part-timers. I know I've run into issues at my daycares where somebody wants 4 days a week and wants to call that part-time. But if you get too specific, you run into people not wanting to enroll, I guess.
How will you do that though if, not having some guidelines on that? How will that work as a public entity where it's a little bit tougher, I think?
Okay.
Just kinda hit it when it happens and then have to come back and,
I guess we don't really plan to take much part-time. It is there for if that becomes a possibility, to squeeze in a few more, but we're really hoping to take mostly full-time children.
so no drop-ins? Cause you're doing it on a weekly basis, so that'll knock out all drop-ins?
Not necessarily.
How will you set that then? That's not in here, for the
Um,
price.
we would just need to add a daily rate then.
We probably need to do that before we approve the handbook, and do you have an idea as to what you'd look at for that?
30?
30? And that's strictly if availability, that would be in there, right?
Sure.
So you didn't have anything in here on field trips? Will there be any of that going on? Will you, charge? Will you, set the notice? One thing, probably a good thing to do is let the people know how that works. Are you planning on any field trips or anything like that?
Yeah, so I did mention in there, that I would have them sign the off-premises trip, form, yes. And I wouldn't, I guess, I don't charge for field trips. I don't know what the norm is,
I don't either,
guess.
but I just figured you're gonna have lots of questions on this where I don't have a handbook, so it's not a big deal to me, but I think this is gonna be a big deal in this situation. Just maybe more clarification for the people coming in and wondering how that works. And the other handbooks that I've looked at, they've got it in there, so I think it will probably help in the long run.
Yeah, I've never run into the issue personally, and I've had a contract, all 7 years I've done this. I do have like a contract meeting with all of my parents where I go through all the components of the contract, as well as have them sign those off-premises trip forms, which I only take us to 2 locations. And I explain those to, and I have them sign it, and it's the library and the park, so.
And those can easily put on that other form, so that's not really a big deal. So you're not planning any big ones?
Yeah, and
I do bigger
I
ones, so.
won't be transporting children either. It's walking only, so
Okay,
that's
good to know, okay. So, is that, probably just put that in the, well, when you do that other form, you can just mark all by foot then, right? Okay. I thought it was a little, reading all the other handbooks and all these meetings that I go to, I thought your discipline stuff might be a little, shallow. I'm wondering if you shouldn't add a little bit more in there. You just put in there, that, if the problem persists, then you will, report it to the parents.
And then I have adopted KDAG's, behavior and guidance
So,
policy.
on dismissal, is that in the KDHE? If you need to dismiss, and how long does that take, and what does that look like?
That would be in termination, which is in the last portion of the contract.
So, getting to that point, you feel like this will be enough then?
I've never dismissed a family.
Well, all the other daycares that are all these meetings are really struggling
Okay.
badly, I can tell you right now.
Well, if you have suggestions on what should be
I
added.
do, I just kinda, copied a little bit from them, and so we all can vote on this tonight. I just put, there was a couple of them, and it says, report to the parents and work together to resolve the issue that served the child in the facility the best, and then it's left up to your discretion. Or, behavior must be addressed to ensure safety and well-being of all the others in the daycare children. So having that standard in there for them to understand that this is a danger to the other kids. I don't know, maybe just a little bit stronger on there is the way the other one's kind of read. So if something like that, I don't think we need both of them, so everybody's in agreement on just whichever one you think would be best on that. they're having huge issues in some of these daycares, unbelievable. I mean, one of them was, 15 pages long.
In what daycares?
The different ones that I've talked to and have at the meetings, the people that come to all the meetings that I go to. I gotta attend so many meetings.
For daycare?
Mhm.
Okay.
And you meet a lot of different people, and the big thing about the trainings that you're going to is all the struggles that everybody has.
And I'm assuming you attend meetings also?
I choose to take classes
Okay.
online rather than attending
And
these
that's how you
conferences.
educate
Yep.
yourself for
Yep.
that? And you feel like this plan is more than adequate for what you've been doing also?
In my experience,
Okay.
yes, thus far.
Well, it's like any other handbook we have, we can change stuff.
Right.
As needed. I feel like we just kind of need a starting point,
I feel like
Yeah,
this sets
I'm-
expectations pretty well, but
you know.
And, so allergies do the same thing. When you hit it, you'll come to us and make the change or whatever. You don't have anything on that. So you put in here that you won't allow any food coming in, but if you've got an allergy kid, would you allow the parent just to bring the food in? You've never had any of those?
I have, and we just changed all of our food to meet that need.
So, that one, you just wouldn't allow any parents coming in. Sounds good. Just wanted to hit that. Cause I know I've got some that like to bring their own, so. And it works because doing food and having allergies is a huge separation.
Yeah, I guess I just worry about the risk of cross-contamination,
Right.
which is why I just chose to change all of our food, so.
Right, and that is the cute thing about if they brought their own in. So, so are you just planning, okay, so I know this is, one of the things that was talked about was, and you don't have in here, will they be, will a teacher be charged through the summer?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the fee all the time if you
Okay,
want.
and it's not really specific, so just knowing
Yep.
that, that is the way it is. I think that was all my questions. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Well, I'll move to adopt it to add the $30 drop-in rate, so it's in there. And, allow Sarah to add a little to the discipline thing. Just a little bit more definition on that, however she wants to do that. Might clarify just a little bit more for those issues that might come up. I think that would be all I would put in my motion.
Since we don't have that printed and represented here, I would like to make the motion for the policy handbook as presented and for changes to be made as the needs arise.
Do what? Is there a second for either motion? Basically, right? Is there a second for Sandy's motion?
I'll second Sandy's motion.
So now we go to a vote. All in favor of Sandy's motion to make the stated changes? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You got
Was it 5-2? Yeah, 2-5. Okay, now do we have a second for Cameron's motion to roll with the proposed handbook and make changes as needed? All in favor? All opposed? Brad,
Aye.
you're opposed, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, 5-2.
What's that?
Thank you.
Thank
Number 4, we're gonna move on to safe routes to school endorsement resolution.
Any questions about safe routes? So we've been talking about that since the fall. We've been working with Lissa Economic Development to try to get some changes made so that kids can have a safer route to school, those that are biking and riding, walking and such. So it's a long process. It involves the state, so therefore there's different components of it. And so at the next phase of the safe routes to school is to endorse and send it onto the state. And Lissa is asking for either an endorsement letter or a resolution. I went ahead and attached that to the weekly communication. I would just, I told her I would prefer to do the letter of endorsement versus the resolution, just because there's less the headache on our end, and she agreed. And so do you feel like the letter of endorsement is something that you can stand behind? And I can read it if I need to.
Anybody want it read?
You're talking a letter of support.
Yeah, basically. It's basically saying we've been a part of the process, we approve them going ahead and working toward the safe route.
I like the idea of the endorsement versus the resolution.
Yeah.
No?
Go ahead, I would say that would probably be a good idea.
Have a motion?
I would make that motion to support an endorsement versus a resolution for the safe route to school program.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor of the endorsement? Brad?
Yeah.
Okay, 7-0. Moving on, budget closeout, number 5.
So we need to close out the budget, for the fiscal year there for the school, and we are meeting with Randy on July 3rd, so we'll be doing closeout. So our budget, the end of June 30th, we'll be closing out on July 3rd. So, I would ask that you, present a motion to give Joanna and I authority to close out the budget for the 24-25 school year.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion for the budget closeout.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Can you state
The
Randy's
years.
authority?
To give Mrs. Hammer and Joanna the authority to close out the budget for the 24-25 school year.
And I will second it.
All in favor? Brad?
Yeah.
Okay, 7-0. And now, we need an executive session. All right, we have to have an executive session. Client privilege, with Etta and the administrators.
How do you want, being privileged in the attorney-client relationship under COMA.
Okay. The motion.
Make a motion to executive session, for the exception, no, that's normal. Alright, matters which being privileged in an attorney-client relationship under COMA, inviting in the board and 2 administrators and
In the library.
and in the library for 15 minutes.
Is there a second? Okay, it's a motion. All in favor?
Sorry, I'm sleeping.
Okay, Brad, you were a yes, and you were a delayed yes, so we're 7-0.
I'm sorry.
All right. We'll resume